right on the landing ground.
Thank you for joining us. You are listening to A Radio, and this is The Morning Moment. Please click on the follow button on Spreaker.com. This piece is from a BBC talk programme called Question Time, where they have political guests on that discuss matters of the day. This piece is about how the far left in the UK, known as the Labour Party, the reason I'm playing this is very simple. Labour is heading so far left, they are once again going to be Marxist and very close to being communist. They want to take the UK back to the 70s, where unions ruled with gay abandon and destroyed the country and led to the rise of Margaret Thatcher. This is what we face if we allow the Liberal Communists in Canada to remain in power. Do we really want this in Canada? Links as always on my website. Your thoughts? Take a listen to the clip.
Is the Labour Party being taken over by momentum extremists?
Well, Chris Williamson was a Corbyn supporter, a member of the Shadow Cabinet until a couple of weeks ago. But I will come to you, Chris. But Peter Oban, what do you think? Is the Labour Party being, whatever taken over means, taken over? A majority of it being taken over by momentum?
I think it's a little bit too early to say. I think a lot of the reporting of this is hysterical.
Fiona Hislop.
The answer is I don't know. I don't know if Labour is being taken over by momentum. I think it's more of potentially what's happening in England rather than necessarily what's happening in Scotland. But I think in terms of where Labour is, I think people don't know where they stand on so many things. And I think that's the problem, because I think a lot of young people, not in Scotland but in England, voted for the Labour Party thinking that they would stand up against what was happening in Brexit, whereas Jeremy Corbyn is actually siding with the Conservative Party. But it's their private grief. It's a different party. It's up for them to explain themselves.
Peter Court, what do you think?
Well, it was set up after Jeremy Corbyn was elected as leader of the Labour Party, and it seems to have been infiltrated by the far left, who are there to protect him from those who are against him within the Labour Party. I think the Labour Party has gone so far left, it's gone off the page. Jeremy Corbyn, to me, is a Marxist. John McDonnell wouldn't deny that he was a Marxist when he interviewed by Andrew Marr. And Diana, I don't know where she is, but I wouldn't let her run a bath.
Chris Williamson.
Well, look, momentum are not extremists. Absolutely not. And if you look at the Labour Party now, it's an exercise in democracy. We are now a mass movement. The Labour Party has more members than all of the other parties put together by some distance. And when you say we're extremists, what is it that the Labour Party is putting forward now? Well, one of the things is we're opposing austerity, unlike the SNP, supported by the Greens, who are implementing austerity here in Scotland. No. But we actually are on the side of the British people. If you look at the opinion polls, where the British people are at, well, the British people want to see the utilities brought back into public ownership. They want to see tuition fees scrapped. They want to see the economy working for ordinary people. They want to see investment in our National Health Service. They want to see investment in our schools, in our education. We want to give people a stake in our economy. We want to build the houses that people need.
And where's the money coming for this?
We can create an
Where's the money coming for this? How much is it going to cost to renationalise these industries?
Well, it's a free ticket, essentially, sir, because they are revenue-generating bodies, aren't they? So any cost would be met by the revenue which was generated. But, for example, take the railways. I mean, what we've said with the train operating companies is that we would take them back into public ownership as the franchises come up for renewal.
But it's not Labour Party policy, it's momentum that's interesting. And one of the things that you want and momentum wants is for candidates to face mandatory reselection, for instance, which is always used as a kind of code for changing the nature of the Labour Party. You're in favour of mandatory reselection.
Well, that's not momentum policy, as I understand it, but certainly I've spoken in favour of mandatory reselection, because if you think about it, there is no other elected position in this country which doesn't have to face a periodic endorsement.
I mean, do you think
members.
half the Labour Party are on the wrong tack, the ones who oppose Corbyn?
Well, you talk about half the... Listen, I've been in the Labour Party...
I'm talking about the MPs in Westminster.
Well, yes, OK, but they're not the Labour Party, are they? They are the parliamentary Labour Party. They're an important part of the Labour Party, but the Labour Party comprises of getting on for 600,000 members. And when you take our registered supporters into account, we're talking about nearly 800,000 members. The Labour Party's never been more united, and we are on the side of the British people. We want an economy that works for everyone. No, it's not about being far left. If you're talking about being far left, sir, we actually support bringing the railways back into public ownership, the utilities.
All right, you've said all that. Michael Forsyth.
Well, that's certainly their objective, which is why they want re-selection. If I talk to my friends in the Labour Party at Westminster, who are reasonable, what I would describe as old-fashioned Labour people, they are terrified at the prospects and they're under great pressure. That is the objective. And Jeremy Corbyn and Mr MacDonald are, in my view, very dangerous left-wingers who would ruin this country and take us back to the 1970s.
However, you, sir, in the second row, and then I'm going to take another question. You, sir.
I'd like to ask the Labour MP, if your party is so big and so powerful and coming forward, how come the best you've got to offer is Jeremy Corbyn?
In my humble opinion, Jeremy Corbyn is the best leader that the Labour Party has ever produced and will be the greatest Prime Minister this country has ever seen. Because he will have a reforming agenda. He will have a reforming agenda that will make this country work for ordinary people, eradicate poverty and have an economy that actually gives people a stake in society and a decent future, decent pensions, decent public services. What is there not to like about that?
I can remember... Sorry, I can remember what it was like when the Labour Party left office in 2010. Debt, bills no paid, and notes to say, good luck Conservative, there's no money left. I'm old enough to remember what it was like when the public utilities in the 70s were in mostly Labour's hands. Strike after strike after all out. And everything that intercity. You want to talk about trains? Intercity? Jesus, you've got a short memory, sir. You've got a short memory.
But the Conservatives have doubled that.
All right. I'll take one more point. Man up there at the back. You said the back. And then we go on. Yes.
Utilities are actually state-owned. The energy market is owned by the French government mainly. The railways are owned by the Dutch and German government, and the Royal Mail is partly owned by the German government. So they are state-owned. It's just not Great Britain who owns them.
You can find more at aradio.wordpress.com, where you can find links to us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Gab and email. We are continuing to reach out to you, so please pass on the links. Please click on the follow button on Spreaker.com. You can listen to all my morning moments at Spreaker.com under A Radio, that's EHRADIO, A Radio, and please click on the like button. And you can find all my podcasts and morning moments at aradio.wordpress.com and click on the Morning Moments tab.